think I was successful.
We good? Okay. I will call the regular meeting of the Human Rights Commission for Monday, September 9, 2024 to order on behalf of Chair who cannot be with us this evening. Do we want to go to roll call first?
Thank you. Chair Loyola, as we mentioned, is not present. Vice Chair Vignolo.
I'm present.
Commissioner Cleary. Not present. Commissioner Remus has been excused. Commissioner Greer. Here. Commissioner Horn. Present. Commissioner Rinke.
Present.
We have a quorum.
If I could just, Chair, if I could just mention during the
Sure.
presentation.
We do have a quorum 4-7, correct?
To just
Sure.
acknowledge, Chair Loyola is not here, his partner passed, and that we should all, our thoughts go with him and his family at this time, so I just want to acknowledge that, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll follow, I'm not going to deviate too much from the agenda. I'll follow the published agenda for this meeting. Presentations would be next, but there are none to my knowledge. So we'll proceed to item 4, which is acceptance of the agenda. And I would like to discuss the order of the agenda, if that's permissible. I would like to ask, I would have asked the chair, but I guess I'll ask myself if it would be possible for us to discuss concerns with the Public Records Act request CC-131-2024 and information which all commissioners received on Thursday, September 5th, 2024 from a Mr. Rich Weissman when we discuss the current agenda item 9A, listening session regarding future work of the Human Rights Commission with Mayor Bernstein. Alternatively, I would pose the question, would it be better to have this added to the agenda as a separate item?
As it is not immediately germane to the topic of the roles and responsibilities of the HRC, which is the current discussion item, we would agendize it for a future agenda item, assuming you have concurrence from a majority of the board.
Okay, in that case, Jeremy, I would like to make a motion to add this item to the current agenda item as item 8A. Discussion of Public Records Act request CC-131-2024. I believe that this item, which came to our attention last Thursday after the current meeting's agenda had already been made, is of such utmost importance and relevance to the future of this commission that it should be added to the current meeting's agenda instead of waiting to be put on the agenda for the October meeting. I believe this requires 2/3 of the members present to vote in favor. That is my motion. It would have to be seconded.
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Horn is seconded.
I'm going to have to intervene and put a pause on the meeting to seek legal input on this one, as I am not 100% sure that this would qualify for an immediate placement on the agenda
And how long would this pause be?
until I'm able to reach the city attorney.
Is that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 30 minutes?
It would depend when I make the phone call if he.
Okay, I'm willing to wait a
text
reasonable amount
messages.
of time for your attempt to reach the city attorney.
Please excuse me one moment.
Mm.
Hmm?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, sure,
No, I read it off.
that's just,
Off the email, but
well, this you
This is
didn't
yours.
receive, this is just mine.
we can have that. This- or that's-
Oh, this
that
thing.
was the last one.
Yes, you didn't bring,
Yeah.
you did get that.
I
I mean,
did. Yeah, I
everybody
read
was
it. I read
carbon
it.
copy.
I read it just before the meeting.
What was the Information Act number again?
CC.
CC 131 2024. Darn. Councilmember Carter, are you here to provide public testimony like you did last time?
No, we're Jeffrey and I are the subcommittee.
Oh, okay.
We didn't know that.
That's, the mayor is gonna announce that. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's news to everybody.
When does Mayor Jeffrey Bernstein's term end?
The end of the year. So it's just one year for each of us.
No. No. Oh. Proceed as I was going to.
Let's see if there's,
Yeah, I assume he's talking.
Are we still being recorded?
yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then I won't say anything.
No.
That's not.
Eight minutes.
What?
Eight minutes.
We have to wait 8 minutes?
It took 8 minutes.
Oh, it took 8 minutes. Oh, wasn't counting.
All right, so I was able to make contact with the city attorney's office, and I was reminded that the direction from the city council to this commission was that no new business would be taken up. That this item would not be appropriate to add to this or future agendas until such time that the board will be taking on new business.
Thank you, Jeremy. In that case, I would like to make a substitute motion. Considering the absence of any further direction or communication with the current council since our July 8th regular meeting, our continued inability to resume normal business or take up any new business, and the fact that there will be 2 new members of the council in January 2025, I would like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting and reconvene on January 13, 2025. I request a second and that there be further discussion before the acceptance of the agenda or this motion. I believe it requires a simple majority. Do I have a second?
Is this clear that you can you can decide just to cancel the meetings?
This has been done under this body before, yes.
A matter of clarification. Seconding the motion means we approve of the motion. Is that correct? Or seconding the motion that we can just discuss the item put forth.
You'd be seconding the motion to take a vote to cancel today's meeting immediately to adjourn to a January meeting.
I do not second the motion.
Okay, so somebody's saying that they can't access the meeting online. Is that possible?
There
Yeah.
are,
We have people there,
yes.
I don't know.
Okay,
if they would,
Somebody up on,
if they wanna look at,
they're in the waiting room.
are they in the waiting room?
Yeah, they need to be allowed in. Looks like they're in the waiting
Admit
room.
all.
Those are 2 people in the waiting room.
You have to admit them.
You have to admit them. There we go.
So I don't know, do we have to repeat everything?
Is there a second? If not, if there's no second, then it does not pass. Does not move forward.
Are we, do we have to second it in order to discuss it? What's the
Yeah.
procedure?
That was the plan.
I'll second it.
We
In
have
order
a
to
second
discuss?
from Commissioner Horn, then we should discuss it and vote on it.
No.
That's
And
my
we don't have-
understanding of
we don't-
Robert's
We don't
rules.
have much to discuss really, other than,
Well, I just, again, I reiterate that I just don't see a point in continuing this discussion of, especially since we're only 4 of 7 commissioners are present.
So if I can
What's
answer,
the-
what
what's the
council's direction
objection?
was to spend time to look at how we revise or reconfigure the Human Rights Commission. That is a process that may not happen in one meeting, it may not happen with all the, it would be good to have other input there. This is an ordinance that was created 30 years ago, and I think it's worthy of due diligence from this commission, which is what we specifically asked to do. To be able to review, and we got a lot of findings here, and that's what the plan was, to begin discussion on that today. To further that, Councilmember Garner and I are going to be the subcommittee to move forward on this. Review of the Human Rights Commission, what role it should or form it should take place. We have gotten a lot of input from, I'm not sure which commissioners did it and some names, but we've got a lot of input to review, and that's what the plan is for this meeting. And until such time as we have some firm decisions, and I think that is valuable work. I mean, this is the first time in 30 years the commission's been looked at, and it's something that we should take seriously. And we're here ready to do it. And I don't know about the rest of the commissioners. I think Commissioner Varela has given a lot of input. I know Commissioner, Chair Varela and Vice Chair Vignolo put a lot of input. I know that other people did, and I think it's worth discussing.
I agree with you. I think there's enough material here to take a look at other commissions in different cities. To see if there's any substantial way to move ahead with a different name of the commission if we can decide. And priorities. So in what I was reviewing here, there's enough. I hate to be wishy-washy about this, but.
No, that's fine. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I respect the mayor's opinion. I introduced this motion because was frustrated that we've really not gotten a lot of, in the past 2 months, communication from anybody. And until this morning at 8 AM, we didn't even have access to the feedback from commissioners. So less than 12 hours ago, we just get the information we're supposed to discuss. No opportunity to really review it. This subcommittee just learned about it. So I mean, it's just like, I'm just not feeling that there's a commitment from the current council to really move this forward. And so maybe it's better to just wait till we have a new council in January to get the opinion of the new council members and then reassemble and move forward. I think there's a lot of confusion, a lot of miscommunication. I am very frustrated the fact that we can't discuss this other information that we were recipients of last week. And it's like just not discussed, dismissed, no information to the commissioners, who in fact, some of us have been named in this communication. I mean, I just don't, I'm just very
I
frustrated.
do understand the frustration.
Why is there not a process by which we can then agendize this information so that we can discuss it at the same time that we're discussing restructuring? I mean, why do they have to be totally
So
devoid of one another?
not necessarily. The decision that the council made was that we wanted this body as it existed to fully discuss what your tasks would be, what the commission would look like. So if the council were to determine that that item is relevant, then we could say, sure, that can be part of the discussion, but considering that that has not. We have not looked at that, or that we don't have the city attorney here to discuss that, we don't have the full council here to discuss that. I think it's better that we determine if that's something that's relevant to this discussion or not first. The thing is, we don't need to act with urgency when there's not an urgent need at this moment to discuss that item, right? So we need all the information, as was just stated, you are missing 3 members. It would be good to have the full body here if we're going to add any new information. So then there's a lot of reasons to wait on that particular item. But I think in the terms of what the city attorneys to Jeremy, there was.
But what
there
what
was-
assurance do we have that we're gonna get anything between now and the end of the year
That's why
about
we
it?
have, so that's why there's a subcommittee now, so that we can discuss these things, so that we can make sure that we're moving forward in a way, but if you're not going to meet until January, then that further delays the discussion, that further
Can't
delays
we-
our ability.
can't we discuss,
Some,
can't we discuss different commissions of these different cities? Can't we put that on an agenda and discuss how these models could fit into?
that's
Four
on
of
the
us?
agenda.
It's on the
That's
agenda.
on the
I
agenda.
think, if I can just speak to what council decided, I appreciate the concerns, okay? What council's direction was. Never mind, I called, yeah, sorry. What council's direction was that the commission would meet with the sole agenda items being to determine what the role and format of the commission should be. I realize that the information came in, there's a lot of information. The subcommittee, we promised that we would come back with the subcommittee, which is what we are, have announced today. That Councilmember Gardner and I would be this, and the committee would do this, and we feel it's important to review and discuss, however many meetings it takes, what the role of the commission should be going forward. And we have a lot of information that requires discussion, and I think it's well worth our time to do that. And
How would you
agree.
propose we
I-
discuss?
I agree that we should move forward
Mhm.
per the agenda and per the subcommittee from the city council. And let's discuss and redefine what our goals are. It's not gonna be a one-shot deal here. We've got a lot of information and probably multiple meetings, maybe even a subcommittee meeting for the board to vet this information, but I think we should move forward. That's my opinion. Now,
Alright,
Perhaps in
I
that discussion, we can.
I will
address
withdraw
these
my
issues.
motion, but I would like to, a lot of what
Yep.
has come in since the last meeting is Chair Loyal is the chair's suggestions. He's not even here to discuss it. So I'm not sure how much we're going to accomplish this evening. Alright,
What about putting it on the agenda for the next meeting?
what we
We'll continue.
I think this is.
apparently the only thing we can have on our agenda is this discussion that will go on. I don't know, until some date in the future.
So we come up with a resolution again, I think this is a very important, and then, you know, it takes a while to come up with commissions with ordinance rather. This one has not been looked at in 30 years. And I think times have changed, obviously, and there's a lot of new information, we have a lot of examples from other cities, and it is well worth our time to do this. I mean, I can't tell anyone here to have to be here, but I think it's council's direction that we wanna do this.
I would move that we put it on the agenda for next month to discuss this information that we have before us about the different cities and how they handle human relations and human services.
But-
we can study that, we can categorize it, we can build a little structure around it, and then move ahead.
Well, I think that's what
But we've had that,
that's-
we've had that information for a number of months.
that's gonna be part of tonight's discussion.
Well, we can do
And
that.
we've had that information
Okay.
since, I think you sent it out in June. I think that the major concern is that there are a lot, under the things that we have been doing, there are a lot of personal challenges that are coming along that are information, particularly naming David, particularly naming Hugo. And these keep getting swept away. Additionally, every meeting that I've been to, we've been challenged and told that we're lying and that we're terrible people and, and we never get to be able to discuss any of that. So maybe that needs to be part of the agenda. We're adults, we're grown up people, we're mostly professional people. We're not really used to being treated that way. And I think it's
you should not
important.
be, and
No,
I will
and
be very clear on this.
it's not tolerable. I mean, you understand, we all would understand that. We all understand that.
You are volunteers
Yeah.
and we appreciate it and you're serving the city and we appreciate that greatly as we do with all the commissions and unfortunately, in any kind of public role, there are people who will, who do not always treat you with necessarily, how you, should be treated. But I think what the role here is really to look at the goal here is really to look at what the role of the commission is. And that's what we'd like to move forward with.
I'm fine moving forward with that,
Mhm.
with a caveat. Can you give me some kind of assurance that by the end of this calendar year, this will be complete? Or will we be talking about the roles and responsibilities of this commission 6 months from now, 9 months from now, 1 year from now? I mean, I can't, I honestly personally cannot invest time
I
in
would-
an
I would-
ad infinitum discussion of this. I mean, I just can't.
Got it. I suggest that we set up a timeline and then we do our homework at the next meeting and come up with what we feel like would be legitimate, credible, doable, roles for this committee, for the Human Rights Commission. However it transforms, it's a golden opportunity. But I believe that is how we can best move forward. But we put a timeline and maybe by the end of the year, we have a draft of what we believe the new code should be.
I would clarify, I do not think the goal is to have this go on forever. I think the goal is to do it and to get it as solid as possible, given that this could be the defining guidelines for the next 30 years, or we don't know how long. And so my view is that I would like to actually hear from people what they think, their personal views of what they think this commission and the role should be. And I know you've given a lot of information. I don't know everybody else's what they.
And what do you think will
If I may
change?
interrupt for one moment.
You asked that exact question 2 months ago. And how did the
So now we're
commission,
discussing it together. Unfortunately, this is how commissions have to work, is they can't have discussions outside.
So you made an initial motion, you withdrawn your motion. We're now having a discussion about the goal of what we're trying to accomplish today. So let's move to item number 4, accept the agenda, approve the minutes, then we'll get to the actual item where we can have a discussion. And if we want to call it at that point, we can make a motion to call the meeting at that point. But let's follow the agenda and get to where the proper place on the agenda.
Okay. Sure, whatever you want to do.
Then you can continue right where you left off.
It's fine, we accept the agenda, and anyone, do we have a motion to
So
accept the
moved.
agenda as it
Seconded.
is? Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed, none, hearing none, we accept the agenda, approval of minutes.
So
Approval of
moved.
regular minutes of June 10th and July 8th. I have one correction. On the July 8th minutes, Commissioner Flood was not a commissioner and was not present. Other than that, I have no other edits.
I don't even remember. Excellent. Good for you. I move.
Do I have a
to
motion to
accept it
accept
with
it as
the,
amended?
with the corrected, with the amendment, to the July 8th, minutes.
Is there a second on that?
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Aye, any opposed? Hearing none, minutes are accepted as amended. I don't have any welcoming comments from the Human Rights Commission Chair. Are there any public comments?
I've received no public comments.
Great, new business, we aren't having any. So now we'll move to 9A, listening session regarding future work of the Human Rights Commission. Yes, Mayor Bernstein. Up to you.
Thank you, Sharon. So what I again, as I mentioned, we now have a subcommittee with Councilmember Garner and myself. We're working on revising the ordinance and coming up with new recommendations to city council for the roles and responsibilities of the Human Rights Commission, potentially a renaming of the commission. And the goal is to have a discussion from the current commissioners on what they believe would make sense so that we can come up with something. I think we have comments, and I think what might be very helpful is to hear from each of you individually first, and then Councilmember Garner and I can add in our comments as well. And the goal would be, ideally to do this as soon as possible. We do have openings on this commission, which we also postpone until such time as we come up with this reformatting of the commission. And I think, again, our ordinance was created in 1994. And I think there's certainly different goals and options now for a Human Rights Commission or Human Relations or Human Services, whatever we decide this will be. And I'm looking forward to hearing thoughts from the current commissioners on their role.
I have a comment. I mean, why are we here, right? We are volunteers. What do we care about? What do we work out for the community, for the people that are our neighbors, right? And so if this commission is restructuring or falling apart, it's up to us. There's four of us here that are interested in in continuing this commission in whatever form. So I think it's a responsibility of ours when we join the commission that we work it out, that we represent the city, we represent and isn't that a responsibility that we have, regardless of the background politics, the behind the curtains stuff that's going on? We still have to continue. We still have to find a way to make this commission work, right? I mean, that's what I think.
Did you have thoughts about what you thought the roles and responsibilities of the commission should be?
I do. I mean, thank you, Mayor. I'm very strongly in favor of a human services component to the commission. I think it's really important that we understand what the 501c3s do in the city. We understand the populations that we serve, the populations that are in need. We need to know how many homeless we have. We need to know how many people that are going hungry, how many mental health issues there are in the city, and the institutions that are looking to serve these communities. I mean, if you just read this right here, it's an analysis of the different commissions of the cities, of 3 cities, right? It's West Hollywood, it's San Diego, and it's San Francisco. And we can also look at other cities too, but let's just have the spirit of trying to serve the community, because that's what we're here for, right? Is it?
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Commissioner Horn, what do you, in your opinion, feel was broken with this commission? What do you think needs to be fixed?
I think this was a commission looking for a reason to exist. Okay, I really do. Our meetings were kind of flailing about to be. I mean, I couldn't find a cohesive thing when I joined this commission, and I'm the baby here. I think I'm the last one to join, or maybe whatever. The point being, I served on the Human Services Commission. I felt I was making a big difference in West Hollywood. So I think that component could work here. I think there's a lot of people that work with the community, and it's like we don't know anything. We don't know anything about our community. We don't know. I mean, what are our 501c3s? What are our populations? What don't we know who we're serving? I mean, we're volunteers, and 4 of us cared enough to come to this meeting today. Okay, so that means something. And, so I'm saying the human services component, I like very much. I'm pushing for that.
Can you talk more about your own West Hollywood?
Well,
human services?
the difference for West Hollywood is that, it obviously funds a lot more 501c3s than we have here. I think the city doesn't fund, as many 501c3s, but, we can have executive directors, we can ask for executive directors to come in and do presentations to the commission, so we understand what their agencies do. We can ask them what their needs are.
Let me just back to that.
Okay, if you read, the West Hollywood component of it, which is I'm most familiar with, you'll see that their agenda item, what they discuss. Focus on the residents, quality of life, compassionate and effective services, accessibility and empowerment. Okay, so those are sort of mission statements for the human services. And we can move in many different directions with that, with our mission. When situations come up in the city that merit human rights issues, we can address those we can address those, we can have other people address them maybe. The thing is, we need a study to understand what the city is all about and who we're supposed to serve. Is that too broad or too?
Do you have other examples of what the Human Services Commission did?
Well, we review, as I said, we review 501c3s, we review APLA, we review Project Angel Food, Betsedic. I mean, I'm thinking of all the 501c3s that food banks, drug addiction, AA meetings. Do we know how many AA meetings are occurring in the city? We don't. Do we know how many drug issues are being addressed to the homeless population? Do we know why the homeless populations do drugs? Do we know why? I mean, I'm just sort of flapping it up and trying to address the human. I can prepare a synopsis of what the Human Services Commission does in West Hollywood. And probably glean from this information what they do in San Diego and what they do in San Francisco.
It's all here.
Okay,
Did you, after reviewing the 501c3s, did you then take action on that? And did
we
you
recommend
support
to
them?
council,
Okay.
because we answered the council, so. We have, so the commission reviews all the 501c3s in a year. There's one day that, I don't know if it's one day or two, they come in and do their presentation and ask for how much money they can get from the city. And we, staff actually puts it all together and we put it in a packet, we send it to council. And council acts on it and they see, where the need is the most and what the city can afford. Okay,
So the Human Services Commission of the city of West Hollywood has a staff.
yes,
And the 5 commissioners on the Human Services Commission, are they paid or not paid?
no, not paid.
And does the Human Services Commission of the city of West Hollywood have a budget?
I don't know. I don't think we ever discussed that because why should we have a budget?
Well, I applaud all of the things you're suggesting this commission might do. I'm not sure if the model can just simply transfer to
I don't think we
this
need a budget.
commission. So I'm
I
just
really
asking
don't.
questions as we,
I mean, we need
discuss
staff,
this.
we need staff to support us and say, okay, we're gonna have, we need to consider inviting people to our meetings.
which I thought we were doing,
Well, nobody's been here.
the presentations we were having from various groups in the city.
I might
Were we
not
not?
have been here then.
Was I the only one in attendance
I
at
mean,
those?
it was. I don't wanna say hit and miss, but it was spotty. It wasn't like a decisive representation of who had the greatest needs. There was no strategy behind it.
I actually do, I mean, you know, city does fund, but I also think the idea of hearing from some of these nonprofits that are providing services, that it would be very interesting to find out where their needs are and where the commission could actually
I
help.
mean, I would like an explanation of what a Desert Ace project does in the city. Do we know? Do we know what their issues are? Cause their issues are a lot. And they bit off more than they can chew, and we need to find out, well, you know. As commissioners, we have the right to ask them, or at least suggest to them that they explain what this huge Desert AIDS project does. And what their issues are with the city or whatever. There's a lot of drug addiction, there's alcoholism, there's, I mean, but and of course there's AIDS and there's monkeypox and there's diseases. And the police department has issues with the wash and I mean, there's just a plethora of things we can address.
Commissioner Gordon, I think when you spoke about this before, you did mention that the rationale for bringing these in was that they were funded by the city, and it was a recommendation to keep funding or not. And then we determined that our city doesn't really fund very much. We ought to fund DAP
Right.
a lot, we know that. But, and fund myself for
Maybe we should
another.
get back to the
But,
topic.
that was, no,
I don't.
that was the rationale for
You're
bringing
correct.
these people in.
And they don't, the model here doesn't have to be what the city funds.
No,
I mean,
I think his services is a great idea. I know I gave my opinion what we should be doing, and of course, from my own positioning, I of course skewed it towards the elderly and what
You keep your-
services that we.
Your stuff is in this packet.
I don't know, I delivered it to you, so I don't know
Yes, I
how,
believe it is.
I don't know.
Do you want to speak to it?
I can't, if I can, it was quite a while ago I did it, I hope I can remember.
Let's just, I would suggest, are you finished with your?
I hope I answered your question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just offer one clarifying in terms of the funding. So the city funds over $1 million every year for 501c3s in the city. Those decisions are made on the staff level. It used to be that the council made those decisions. Now staff does that. So the grants are varying. They could be $2,000, they could be $50,000, although that's rare, they're usually smaller grants. But we fund hundreds of organizations. We have funded hundreds of organizations. I don't know if the exact number that we funded this cycle, but that does occur. So it sounds like in West Hollywood, the Human Relations Committee had a role in deciding what funding amounts would be given to those commissions. In the city of Palm Springs, it's not at a staff level. So that's just to give you a clarification.
I would just make one comment, though. I do like very much the idea of looking at the different organizations and how they can help in other ways and where they make their needs maybe. We do have a lot of them that do good work, and whether it's one of our organizations, not so much to show what they do, which is helpful, but also where could the commission or the city help further other than funding, which there are different ways to do. So I appreciate that, and Commissioner Greer, I didn't want to cut you off, so
No, that's fine, I agree, everything that was that's going. No, as I did say, the input that I gave, of course, was from my own position, which tends to be towards the chronically ill and the elderly, and that is a group that I think we are, we have a tendency to kind of become invisible in our society, and some of their rights are violated probably on a daily basis more than we know. But there are numerous organizations that do warrant our attention, and we should, as a Human Rights Commission, be aware of them and know how we can best help them to make sure that the needs of our seniors and of our chronically ill and are being met, including things like access to health, which is a big thing for Commissioner Linky. But also some of the elements like the Mizell, for example, is supported by the council. And I bet you most of you don't know what goes on over there. It's kind of a fun place. I know there were many council members that were in my organization when we existed over at the Neurovitality Center. We had visits from everybody from the mayor on down, many times. And I think that's an important factor. Also, it is an important factor that those services that are being provided, they feel that they are included as part of the city. I know when Frank Bogart used to come over and talk to our group, for example, when one was mayor, his mom actually was a patient of mine, so he would come over. And it really made everybody feel like they were part of the city. And I think that's an important thing that tends to be missing these days. I'm not sure why. But I think we need to get back to that kind of inclusion. Additionally, I think that there's a very important conceptual way that the commission needs to be involved in looking at the environmental planning in the city for seniors and how we can best accommodate their needs going forward. You know, basically, we're a retirement community and a gay community. Or old gay, or retired gay.
And a
Or, you know.
Latino community as well.
Well, and Latino as a support group, but most of the people don't live in the city,
Yeah.
they live in other cities. So, sorry, Grace, you're getting more, no, that's nothing, no offense now.
It's about 20%.
So but the majority of people really are retired or gay people or old gay
If
people.
I could-
people.
if
I
I
think
could
we
have-
have to accept that and look at it on the environmental stage too, as well, as part of human rights. Human rights are the right to be able to access healthcare. Our transportation is huge. There's a fabulous program in I think it's Tampa. They're called the Fun Bus, and it's for seniors only. And it just runs around town and takes people to get their medications and their groceries, and they have a great time, and they party all the time, it's wonderful. There are all sorts of different things that are being done in different communities that have older people like we do. I think we need to be aware of that, we need to look at that kind of thing, and we need to make sure that we're taking that into account as we move forward.
I would like to know how the county of Riverside is involved in our institutions here and the state and the feds. Because when you go, like, I've been going to 501c3s and talking to executive directors, and they're trying to explain the structure of how they get funded and stuff like that. I think we should know about that kind of stuff.
Well, there's a tremendous amount of services, particularly on the senior side, in the AAAs, and I'm sure you don't even know, most of the people here don't even know what that is. Different programs that take into effect things like ombudsman for skilled nursing facilities. One of the most fabulous programs I think that exists. And it's all volunteers, they go in and they make sure that the human rights of the people in SNFs and skilled nursing are not being violated. And they do it on a volunteer basis, and they go back to the state, and they can actually bring charges against the skilled nursing facilities. It's a fabulous program. Did you know it exists? No, and the human rights commission, we said, yeah, you're right, of course.
I'm curious to know if there's a Rotary Club, if there's Shriners, Masons, there's, anyway, there's other groups that we can try to find out.
If I could just comment on, and I love that idea of the Mizell and Neurovitality Center and how the commission could be supported, how potentially council could be. I mean, again, we have different methods for funding, but there's lots of other help and ideas that they need, and if it's more interaction with council, if it's looking at what other cities have done with a fund bus, I think those are sort of great ideas for how to support our nonprofits. We have a lot of nonprofits here that do a lot of great work, and how we can help support them further is always useful.
Yeah, I would just like to say that, one of the areas that I've been heavily interested in has been the homeless. We started out, David Miller and I, with the help of the, commission to look at the city strategy, what was going to be our strategy. Our strategy came from the city council, and in 2023, it was, the quality of life, it was homelessness, and it was, the elderly and the geriatric population. And so I really got into homelessness, and I found out all of this work that is going on that nobody is aware of. And my goal was kind of to try to develop a collaborative network. I mean, there's the Well in the Desert administers a lunch every weekday to churches in the community. Then there's like, there's like the UCR Street Medicine Mobile Clinic, there's the San Bernardino Nurses. There is like a free Wi-Fi telephones that they can access if they have IDs. And I can go on, but my point being is that there is so much redundancy and so much ability to collaborate, especially with something as important as this. We're talking food, we're talking, drug rehab, we're talking shelter insecurity. I mean, there's like a whole host of problems that covers a lot of human rights. And it would be nice to be able to bring those together and knit together some of these redundant, duplicative efforts. And then also to aid those that really need funding and find out what they're doing. What's the mark they're making in the community? And they help us to understand some quality metrics. That's a bad word, but what are we doing, especially with money that's being funded, to be able to improve the human rights issues that we're addressing?
I mean, you and I met with the homeless, I forget his name.
Roman Ruiz.
Roma.
Yeah, he's head of the navigation center.
I mean, he should come to our meeting and we invited him actually, to said, come to our meeting and tell us, he told us an amazing universe of stuff.
Yeah.
That only he can present because he's in charge of it.
Yes, he's correct, yes. Yes, and I think you're right, there's a lot of resources out there, and it would be helpful to know, but also what else the commission do, or let the community know what services are out there. I mean, that is, if you don't know about some of these organizations, then maybe the people who actually are in need of them aren't knowing as well. So, in fact, you were gonna talk about a meeting you went to, the school district meeting, do you wanna talk about that at all?
Sure. I agree with the sentiments about understanding the city, understanding the demographics and where there is a need, because there are a lot of needs. One of the things that I had raised before and we didn't get a chance to take action on was this group that is Desert Healthcare District, members of the school district, police department, community members, We Are One United, and I think I'm forgetting another organization Coachella Valley Housing Authority, who meet to work on issues of youth violence in the community and how to make sure that the kids are communicating better, that they're not fighting. And this has been ongoing for a while, and I thought it would be great to have a member of our Human Rights Commission as a part of that. So I think there's a lot of organizations that would love to partner with the city. Oh, the school district. You mentioned it and I went back into it triggered a different memory. The school district, yes. So the school district specifically held a racial inequity conference on Saturday. And the city was not a part of it. The Human Rights Commission wasn't a part of it. And this is the third year that they've done it, and it's a great event. They have speakers and breakout sessions, and a lot of organizations were there. And so it would have been a great opportunity for the Human Rights Commission to partner, for the city to partner. It was held at the convention center, so I guess we were somewhat of a partner, right? But there's ways for us to be more involved, and it does mean that we need to have the information provided to all of you so that you can decide what. Obviously, you're not going to be able to assist every single group every year, but perhaps you're able to choose, I don't know, whatever is reasonable, 3 to 5 groups that you're focused on or issues that you're focused on, so that you can make sure that the public is aware of this information, that you're all educated on it. So I really, the way that the discussion is going, I think it's also the way that I've been thinking about this group too, is how do we make sure that we are not duplicative, right? That we are really adding value to the work that's being done. So I personally am finding this very, very useful in terms of how to move forward.
Yeah, I think it's very important
I
in
think-
terms of how the city is viewed externally. As a compassionate city, as a city that really cares about its people, that it wants, and I think that's the role of the Human Rights Commission more than anything else, is that kind of, that inclusion.
Yeah.
If you will.
Well, it's not just how we view, but how we actually treat our.
How we actually do it.
Yeah,
We
no,
can't
no.
just, it can't just be the purview, we actually have to do it.
Yeah.
What would be helpful too is the city council to let us know, for the city council, council members to let us know, the Human Rights Commission, about these opportunities, a lot of kind of back and forth communication.
Well, the Human Rights Commission can can have the flexibility to actually be the ambassadors for the city where the council can, obviously can't do, run out of time.
But just the information, the flow of information.
Yeah.
I will echo that, I think that that's a really good point, because as you're discussing all of these things, the different things you raised about how many organizations are doing this or how many are doing that. I realized, wow, I know the answer to almost all of these questions, right? And it's because as a council member, I am invited to everything. And I do my best to go or learn about as much as I can, and so I didn't realize just how much knowledge I have, but it's because of my role and being invited. So making sure that this group, right, is also equally included, because I don't always know where this mass invitation is sent, right? But if we can better ensure that you all are included on that, I think that's a really
I
good
think
point
that's a
from all of
great
you.
idea.
And then,
Yeah, it's a great.
And I just wanna say, before I forget, a lot of what's been discussed is already in our roles and responsibilities in the municipal code. We have tried in the 2 years I've been on this commission to actually execute some of these roles, but for whatever reason, we don't have the resources, we don't have the access, we don't have the funding, we don't have the commitment of the body of commissioners to actually do the work. But a lot of the roles and responsibilities that all these three commissioners have expressed a desire for this commission to do going forward, I believe are already in the roles. And if we just could fulfill them, this commission would work. So I go back to what I said in July, I don't think we have to rewrite everything in terms of our roles and responsibilities. Most of it in the current code exists. We just have to figure out a way with your assistance to make it happen. Or we'll be having this discussion a year from now and 2 years from now.
I would
3
also
years
like
from
to
now.
know the vetting on how the commissioners end up on the commission. Because I don't know who makes, I didn't know who made the decision for me. And
Oh, that's a-
I did.
And we should vet commissioners that really wanna do something instead of
That's
just
a good point.
being proud that they wear their little thing. I mean, I don't care if I have the little pin or not. It's about being involved. So we
so
should,
I can answer the question, so there's usually
You're a warm body you're on here.
so there's usually a council subcommittee that does the commission appointment. For certain commissions, HSPB, planning, and Measure J, all council interviews.
Yeah.
For all the other ones, it is usually the mayor and mayor pro tem. So last year it was Councilman Gardner and I, this year was mayor pro tem, and myself did all of the other ones. What happened last year, and just to be clear, is that there was some discussion prior to last year about reformatting all the commissions to a smaller amount. So for a period, there was no appointments made. When our current city council, city manager came in last year, he decided that we should fill all the commissions to what they are, the ordinance states. So last year, I think we had to appoint 60 or so commissioners. So we did a number of interviews, some of them we knew people, we already personally, so we didn't need to interview everybody. But that's actually how it works. Normally, is interviewed and by the subcommittee,
And then the council.
and the council approves.
I was not interviewed. But that's okay, I mean, because I'm really happy to be here.
If you submitted an application,
I
not
did.
everybody was interviewed.
Oh.
Sometimes the application is robust enough that we
Okay.
could decide based on that.
So given that 6 o'clock, I know your time's valuable, I just wanna make sure we given you enough information to, and I'd like to better understand where you see us going between now and next October. This October, next month.
Well,
And I'd like to understand a little bit more about what your role in this is as a subcommittee. Do you, what's?
So, first of all, we are not on a time, we have some more time, if people wanna speak, I'm not cutting anybody off,
Mhm.
so, I think we're scheduled 6:30, Larry. Pretty long.
I'm not aware of an end time.
Yes, it's usually an hour now, but I think what the goal is to get everybody's input, and then we have these meetings, and then, Councilmember Garner and I will work on what we think would be potential edits to the existing ordinance, or obviously with the help of Jeremy and our city attorney, come back to the commission and then go back to council on that. I think that's what the plan is. It's a, my only concern right now is that we have 3 commissioners who, don't have their input, and if they are, I wanna
We
make
do
sure.
have Hugo's
We have
is
Hugo's.
in here, and
Yeah.
I won't speak to it in detail, but I did find it an interesting concept. As I understood it, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to read it, but or other commissioners, but it seems to imply the disbanding of the commission and replacing it with an actual city department. And my initial gut reaction was, do you really, a city department's gonna require staffing and budget, and it's gonna be expensive. And so I leave that to you to
Maybe
kind
we
of
would-
give us some, if you think it's a worthy thing to look into further, fine. I would leave that up to you to direct this body to look into it, but
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting one, I did read that, I mean, nothing is gonna happen in terms of staffing and. In the near future, because we have our budget is done, and I think what really is more of a discussion is what. Same one we're having with you as commissioners is how can you be additive to what is out there already in terms of organizations and city staff. As opposed to redundant, and so, we look at the same thing as a staff member. I think just going. Ordinance that was written 30 years ago, there's a lot of new things that have happened, we have a lot of new organizations out there, there's new, there's new HR laws, there's new police policies, there's a lot of things, there's same-sex marriage, which obviously was not contemplated in our original ordinance, so there are other things that have changed over time, and now we can see what are the new needs of the commission and potentially make a recommendation that there should be an additional staff person. Part of what has come up, and I'll just mention this, is how do our residents know about all these things? So we don't want to be giving your personal phone number to tell everybody to come to commissions to find out what elderly services are out there for people, but maybe there is potentially somebody at the city or some organization that is a referral service for residents. Because, and I will tell you, this came up, and I think in some of the information is how people know, different services that are out there. They may not all be related to elderly, they could be, housing and other things as well. And there's a lot of resources out within the city, within our nonprofits, within the county, and within the city. And I don't think any of us know about all of them. So there is a real role in terms of that. So I think the idea, again, going back to your question, is that we will come back and, I'll watch the video again, Councilman Garner is taking a lot of notes.
well, I did want to say that I did in the packet Jeremy distributed, I did attempt to provide what I believe are reasonable edits to that chapter of the municipal code to bring it up to date. I did throw out the question about domestic partnerships, the registry of domestic partnerships. Does it exist? Can we, if there are registered domestic partners, can you amend the municipal code to remove that language about termination of domestic partners if you don't provide a vehicle for terminating registered domestic partners? I believe the city attorney is looking at that. I've not heard anything back. I've not received any response to my inquiry about whether a registry of domestic partners exists, although it's mentioned in the municipal code. So in the material, I offer you that you have some, what I again believe are reasonable edits to the chapter.
I would just like to interject a statement that and we do have the rules and operating procedures, but I really think per your comment, Mayor Bernstein, that we need to really look at what's currently being done, what are the current processes, the current recommendations, the current activities of a lot of these human rights committee and human rights commissions, and then incorporating that into this document or a document that we come up with. And then also, I think one of the things we struggle with is to have very distinct roles. I think you just mentioned that, but you know, an expectation of what the commissioners are to do as opposed to just sit and come to meetings, which has been sort of because, yeah, I mean, the commission was looking for a mission, a reason to exist. Yeah, so I think that's a really important point.
Thank you. I would agree. The other thing I wanted to mention to the subcommittee, that as you go off and deliberate and think about what you've heard, is my personal opinion is that the idea that this commission should mediate. I know it's mentioned in the current municipal code as a responsibility of this commission. In the time I've served on this commission, it has never worked. I just don't see going forward that a human relations or human rights commission or whatever we end up being called needs to take on that role of mediation. I don't think we're trained enough, we're qualified, or that we should step up and provide that. If I had to eliminate one role that we're currently by statute supposed to do, I would suggest you consider removing that from our responsibilities going forward. That's my personal
I
opinion.
agree. I actually went as far as trying to do the certification training course online through Riverside County. There are 2 levels. And I thought, in my own personal priorities, I didn't want to do it. So it requires training and background. And
I agree, and real, especially certain types of mediation requires even more extensive review, even in legal profession, there's some people who are qualified and some people who are not. And so I do think that's a very good point. Yeah, I just want to say personally, I know that this has been a lot of discussion. It has been extremely helpful for me hearing from people directly. I did read everything, but hearing somebody say it and phrase it about, you know, what you were talking about with elderly, it comes across with much more robust than reading it, and it's much more helpful for me. And hearing your all of your comments, you know, has been really helpful, I think.
I agree. I think it is really helpful. I'm looking forward to being able to discuss with the full commission. But we will put something together based on all the things that we heard. The big part of this, right, is making report on it. And so that's part of us listening and being able to provide some information prior to the next meeting for you all to review ideas, suggestions based on what we've heard, based on what we can determine is possible with the staffing levels that we have in the city. All of these things, you can look at it, you can tell us, yes, this is moving in the direction we want it to, or no, right? But that way we're continuously working on a document and setting up the expectations is a huge part of it, systems in place to make sure that you're getting the information that you need. Because we don't want us to be sitting here again in a year because we're just not taking action on the items that we've listed. A lot of these human rights commissions, their mission statements are very broad or very vague, and that makes it difficult to move forward without systems in place. So I think that's what we're really clearly lacking here, is that ability to have something to stand on and say this is the tasks that we're assigned, right?
Yes.
So I think this is very useful. I feel very ready to dig into this. There was we just now, a day ago, determined that this was the subcommittee. So, we haven't been sitting on this, it's just been who were going to be the best 2 people to work on this. And so hopefully you all feel like you can come to us and you can send us information. If you think of things between now and the next meeting, you want to send us a note.
Yeah.
I think, we can personally reach out to the other 3 members, encourage them to send us information, to watch this meeting, so they know what you all have said. And that way we can really move forward in a robust way.
And I think having the group of you who has been in these meetings and experienced some frustration is actually helpful for us to hear, because you know exactly what you think you could be useful in and what you want to avoid, and that is actually very important for us to do.
Well, I think it's permissible for me to send an email to Jeremy, blind carbon copy the commissioners, all 7 commissioners, and reiterate the importance of reviewing the video session of today's meeting, the documents that Jeremy sent out, and submitting through Jeremy any additional comments that he can forward to the subcommittee before the October regular meeting.
I think it is allowed, my suggestion in general with all commissions, the same way that council operates, is to send your email just to Jeremy and ask him to
Well, that's
distribute to the council. I mean, to the commission. We do the same thing. I will send a letter to the city manager, and if there is something pertinent.
So Jeremy will distribute it to the commissioners again, and hopefully you'll get additional feedback. I don't know whether you will or not, but all we can do is ask, right? So, is there anything else you might need from us at this point prior to October's meeting?
I think it's what we have talked about. I think it's just if you have other thoughts and continue to see, I mean, you now have heard everybody else's comments from this meeting, and so as you go back and think about how this commission could be most useful, is if you have other ideas or other instances of what other cities are doing, whether it's the commission or just things that may be human services, human relations, or human rights related that we should look at, that's also helpful.
If you had, I don't know if you can answer this, but if you had to guess when this commission might be able to resume any kind of other activity,
I don't think we can guess.
any guess? I mean,
I don't think we should put on guesses, however, I think this was extremely productive, and so I think we're not walking out of this saying, well, we need to have 10 more meetings to figure out what this commission is doing. I'm walking out of this thinking, I've got a lot of great information. I do want to get those input, and how we refine them to something set may take a little bit of time, but I think we have moved very far along in this process. And you did over the last 2 months, and I just want to reiterate how grateful we are to the work that you did. If you are creating a new ordinance or commission or ordinance that is going to serve the city for decades, it is very important work.
does the actual mechanics of modifying the municipal code, the chapter on human rights commission, is that something that would be delegated to the city staff to do, or is that done by the city attorney? I'm assuming you don't expect the commission to actually come up with the language of a modified chapter of the
No.
municipal ordinance.
That will come from the city attorney. I mean, I might, myself and the mayor might draft something, but ultimately the city attorney
You don't
would.
expect us to do.
No, the city attorney would edit anything, and then of course, just like any ordinance change, it would come to the city council, and we would have it would go through 2 meetings until it was finally implemented, right?
It's good to know.
And we're here to serve you. I mean, we're here to report to you.
Right.
Alright, any other discussion on item 9A? Can we move to item 9B, which I understand is to determine the date, I guess, of our next regular meeting in October 2024.
For clarification, October 14th is a city holiday, Indigenous Peoples' Day, so City Hall will be closed, not open for business. I'm hoping we can select another date for that meeting. This room is available on October 9th, 29th, and 30th. We don't necessarily have to meet here. If we pick a different date, I can look for other meeting locations, but if we want to meet in a similar location, those are the days we have 9, 29, and 30.
I'm not here.
30th
29
is-
and 30.
I should just. Actually, is the state of the city.
That's the meeting, you can't hold your meeting. So
Right.
I would opt for the 29th, but
Of September,
11th meeting, we will discuss at the October meeting, because November 11th is Veterans Day. We're on a roll.
Get them all screwed up.
so how, do you need a motion
I-
to amend the date of the meeting in October?
Yes,
I might.
Alright, So I'm gonna move that we change the October regular meeting from October 14th to October 29th. I'll assume it'll be at 5 p.m. Again?
I have to double check, I may not be able.
I'm
One
not here.
time to be determined.
I would like the 9th, but that's only.
Do the
for
9th, I mean, yeah.
Convenience.
I may not be able to be here on the 29th.
are you available on the 9th? Yes, for you,
I
am.
Yes. yes.
Do that's fine. I won't be.
And for the mayor.
So the 9th,
9th,
it's better for you guys,
The
the
9th.
majority of people at this table.
And hopefully if we can get find out from the other three if they can be here on the
yeah, we'll
night.
reach out to the
Just
others.
make sure that we have a quorum,
Right.
since we
I'll
heard
be
from you,
excused.
it'll be
I'll have
okay.
to be excused.
Would really love at least to make sure that the others three are here, as many people as possible, even though.
Yes.
Sorry, I can't be, but I've got another.
I mean,
We get a motion and a second,
I'll motion for the change to October 9th,
Second.
5 p.m. I guess. Second, any
Five.
discussion, all in favor,
I.
raise your
Aye.
hands, any opposed, seeing none. Meeting will be October 9th. At 5 p.m. Commission member comments and requests, I just want to make clear that because this commission is not able to engage in any new business, we will not be participating in any parades as we've done in past years, unless the council directs us or enables us to do so. That will be the Veterans Day Parade. Applications are due in October. I will not be submitting it unless directed to do so. And the Pride Parade Festival will have no representation unless I'm directed to do so.
I'm not sure I understand council's direction not to participate in parades, they recommended or directed not to take on new business.
Well, I don't know what the definition of new business is,
Yeah,
so.
if there's certain things like the Pride Parade, Veterans Day Parade, that the Human Rights Commission participates as a regular matter, that's fine. You don't, because it's not something that you need to agendize and discuss it's not a new item of business,
We
it's
have,
a recurring.
we have in the
item of
past always discussed it because we have to figure out the logistics of it.
Sure,
Who's gonna show up, who's gonna do what?
but I don't see
So,
that as.
Can I put it on the
new
agenda
discussion.
for October?
I think so, do you agree? To me, that's the same thing as needing to discuss changing the date of the meeting, these are things that you participated in regularly for years. So I don't think that that's a problem.
Okay, so we'll have to add that to the October 9th agenda. Participation in the Veterans Day Parade, which is November 11th. I believe the application's due on the 11th of October, so
I
somebody.
mean, that was Hugo's big thing, was
Mhm.
visibility.
Well, yeah,
I
but
mean,
I
he-
didn't know if we
That
were
was
in,
his,
Yes.
you know, again, I wasn't sure if we could be visible.
Yes, you can, and so it would be the Pride Parade and the Veterans Day Parade, that's both of those.
what is the Pride Parade?
That's the third,
The
November
third.
third.
Or the 4th, I think.
November
That's
third.
December. November 11th is the first one. We've done it in the past. We've submitted an application to be a contingent. So we'll discuss that, or you'll discuss that October 9th
We were in the Pride
and
Parade
get
as
people
well.
signed up to do it. So that'll be an agenda item in addition to the status of the November meeting, and I guess we'll carry forward the listening session regarding future work of the Human Rights Commission. And you can just add Councilmember Garner to the agenda in addition to Mayor Bernstein. Any other comments or requests from the other commissioners? And we
I move to
have a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn to our regular meeting scheduled for Monday, for October 9th, whatever day that is. Tuesday?
Wednesday. I'm sorry.
Wednesday, October 9th,
Okay.
2024. So we have a second on the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Horn, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you so much. It's adjourned.
Well, appreciate it.
Thank you all. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we know when Hugh